but awesome stories, but also processes and principles of creating success, but also handling the failure, handling it and turning that into the success as well. So what we want from you guys is we want to know where in the country, if you're in England, or where in the world are you watching from? So do comment, tell us where you're watching from. Yeah, because I don't know, is everybody locked down still? I don't know about aside. I kind of like don't want to
pay in the UK, that's for sure.
I don't want to pay too much attention to it. It's you know, some crazy stuff, right? But let us know what's going on with you. So as per usual, if you have been watching before, you know that we're going to run a competition, and to qualify and to be in for a chance to win some real life merchandise, all you need to do is share this post right now, share this stream on your timeline, and then tag 10 people in the comments. Do that right now. So if you're in the real life tribe, you've got to tag 10 people in the tribe and out. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, real life tribe, just tag 10 people and that will get you in with the chance. You've got to be here at the end though. So we're going to call you out. We're going to do a shout out at the end, and you would then be contacted and you get a chance to win. You can win so many different things. It's like cups, phone cases, hoodies, keeping people warm, blankets, leggings. You know, people have been enjoying these merchandise, especially over this period. So start commenting, start sharing, start tagging. And plus also, if you have any questions around building business, especially what people may perceive as in tough times or where things are changing, and some people have literally had to do a 180 turn in their business, which we're going to hear about tonight as well, to keep driving forward and creating success, which says to me that really the success in business, so let me know if you want success in business, and the money that comes from it is really the byproduct of what's really going on. If it can be done in one business and then another business and another business, then that tells me it's really just a byproduct. So do share this, do comment, and let's get this going, because tonight's awesome Real Life Money Monday panelist is sitting right in front of us with that awesome picture there, as appeared on the BBC famous show Apprentice. I would say much better than the American version of The Apprentice, much more you know, cutthroat and powerful. And what Joseph has achieved, not just in growing his business from being a partner with Alan Sugar, but also in times where things changed so quickly. So also let us know what questions, or maybe even just some comments or observations of what's happened in your, either you got a job or your business or whatever it is that you're into. How quickly did it change? What happened? How difficult was it? Or how successful has it been for you? Because I want to hand it over to Joseph right now, so he can tell a little bit more about himself, so you know what questions to pose to the panel this evening. So Joseph, thank you so much for being here with us. Super awesome. I'm really excited that you're going to be sharing all your successes and your failures and just your journey so far.
Awesome. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Thanks for having me on. Really love the show. Really excited to share my story and add lots of value to what I think you said was the real life tribe. I can see Gurmal is tagging loads of people, so thank you for that. Awesome stuff. And if you can share it, as Mark said, you know, their merchandise is absolutely awesome. So if you're here until the end, you're going to be in with a chance to win. So big opportunity. So Mark, where is it that you'd like me to start? Do you want me to go back to my early years? Do you want me to go to my starting in business?
Yeah, I think give us the timeline, because you started what people might perceive at a very young age. Yeah. So like, what was the mindset? What was the what gave you, you know, the push to make that decision? And then what was your journey right through to today? If you just give us a brief timeline,
okay,
then we can start.
I'll go quick. So growing up, we had quite a challenging upbringing. My mum worked 3 jobs: cleaner, dinner ladies, all small paying jobs to support our family. My dad was an alcoholic. He didn't work. He was unemployed. And from a very early age, because you want to know where it started and where my drive has come from and, what it's all about, what my why is, what my motivation is. It was all about changing my circumstances. It was all about building a new life. It was about building a successful life that would allow me to have finances to create a better future for my children, pay back my mum for looking after us, and really just move through the generations of wealth. And I think, my journey really starts when I was 15 years of age. I was expelled from school. My dad had left at 13. And, I was down and out. I was at rock bottom. My mum had given up on me. My teachers had given up on me. And as such a young man, I could have gone down the wrong path in life. But very luckily, I was able to find myself an apprenticeship in plumbing. And that's where my journey really started. That kind of saved me from going the wrong way, And over a couple of years, I became a qualified plumber and a qualified gas engineer at 19, earning £50,000 a year, more than my teachers, more than most of my peers. And by the time I was 22, my mum got me Lord Sugar, the guy on this side behind me, Lord Sugar's autobiography for Christmas. I was still a gas engineer at the time. I was making good money. And I was a massive Apprentice fan. So I read this autobiography, which was about that thick. It's called What You See Is What You Get. If anybody in the audience is interested, it's not my book. He's not paying me any money to say that. It's just an awesome book. And it absolutely changed my life. It changed my mindset. It changed my thinking. It changed my DNA. And what I was able to see, Mark, was how one man had come from a council estate, an impoverished background, as a young guy in London, to go on to build billionaire wealth in one lifetime. And, I finished the book and I looked at the story and I said, he's done incredibly well. But what does he have that I don't? Okay, or what did he have that I don't? We both grew up poor, came from similar backgrounds, and it seemed like he just got in at the right time, worked extremely hard, and that's kind of, I looked at my journey and thought, I've got those things. Now, I can work extremely hard. I can commit my time and effort. And it was at that point, at the age of 22, that book changed me so much that I went on to Tesco's online. I took out a £15,000 home development loan against my 50K salary and quit my job the next day, literally overnight, bought a £1,500 van, branded my company Impragas, which is short for entrepreneur in Latin. So impra meant impravio. So it was entrepreneur gas. And bought this £1,500 van, bought some tools, got branded up, and went to work. And that was where, I got into the game and where my business first started. And then it kind of went on from there. So I'll either stop if you want to jump in, or I'll carry on going. It's up to you.
That's brilliant. So two things. Number one, what is it about the book that made you was there a question that occurred, or was it something that inspired you to say, I've got to go do this?
In all honesty, it resonated, because where I grew up, everybody that had money, it was given to them, or they were silver spoon fed, or they came from a different class. So it meant that they were automatically up there, and we were separated from that, and we could never achieve that. That was the limiting beliefs in the town that I was with, and my family, and my friends, and we didn't believe that we could be successes until that book showed me actually that you can break out of the norm. You can go on to achieve insane feats if you go to work, you do what other people aren't prepared to do. So it kind of resonated and made it real. And that's where I then said, you know what, if he can do it, so can I. I'm going for it.
Good. And so what was going through your mind to quit a job paying you £50,000 a year? Because when I left school, by the way, I went into the building trade as a laborer, as someone making the tea, someone mixing the cement, carrying the blocks, loading out the bricks. So, I was at that point, I was like dreaming of the time, like, oh my goodness, like £1,000 a week. Like that was like a bricklayer's kind of milestone. Like, make £1,000 a week, you made it. So like for you to get to that state, and by the way, I always used to look and see these plumbers coming on thinking, oh my God, these guys have skipped a few stages here. They're already making 1,000, a week. So what was going through your mind to say, hey, okay, I'm just going to quit this thing and just go by?
Funny that you should say that, because as I was an apprentice plumber, like you was an apprentice bricklayer, I presume, or labourer, and I was on £80 a week. We were doing all the dog's body jobs, cleaning, pulling out the dirty toilets and making the teas and doing all the shit jobs that they make you do as an apprentice. It's kind of your grassroots entry, and looking back, as much as I hated it at the time, I knew that it was short term and it was going to get me to, like you say, £1,000 a week. To me at that point, that's what plumbers got. That was we made it, baby. We made it. And and then you get there and it's never enough. Right, and that's what's always driven me. Once I've got there, it's never as good as what I thought it was going to be. It was easier to get there than I thought it was going to be. And I've realized that my potential means that I can do so much more. And that's my drive. My drive, when you asked earlier or said, money is a byproduct. I don't do what I do because I want to make more and more money. There gets to a point when you just, you can't spend the money that you've made. I do it because I want to live my potential. I do not want to lay on my deathbed, in hopefully many, many, many years from now, looking back at my life and going, you copped out. You were average. You didn't do what you could have done. Les Brown says there's so much talent in the graveyard, and life passes you by so damn quick that the one thing that I would hate so much in my life is if I got there, the end was in sight and I looked back and thought, I didn't do enough.
Yeah, for sure. So so you did this, you bought yourself a van. Yeah. So that was to start your own business in the same industry and trade though, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So it was a plumbing and heating business.
Yeah. So when you did that, was it what you were expecting?
Look, I know it was actually more than I expected, because when anybody starts their own business, it's a massive leap. And it's always that risk versus reward factor. I took out a 15k loan. My mum told me that I was mental. My friends told me that I was crazy, that I shouldn't do it. Why would I be giving up that money? My mum used to clean bakeries for £2.50 an hour in the mid-90s. So for me, to be getting 50k salary at 19, 20, she thought it was insane money. And she she always tried to talk me out of it, but that was only because of her circumstances. So I went into business straight away, believing, like many people that start their own business, that they can do it better than their boss, or they can add more value into the industry, and hopefully they're going to make more money and not make their boss rich, right? So I went into the industry with the vision to innovate, to disrupt, and many industries, especially construction, people operate in the same way. They aren't revolutionizing, they aren't changing, and they are old past-time thinkers. That means, although it's a crowded opportunity, it's an insane opportunity to go into a space and change a couple of things, and it looks like you are the best thing since sliced bread. So I became a plumber that was going into property management companies in a pinstripe suit with a shirt, a tie, handkerchief in my pocket, a briefcase, an umbrella. I'd walk in there and start pitching, and I looked like a guy from Wall Street or a guy from from Canary Wharf, not a 22-year-old plumber that was going to come around and fix your boiler. So I changed the perception of how construction or plumbers were seen, and that allowed me to gain so much traction so quickly. Within my first week, I had my first apprentice, first month, my first plumber, first 3 months, my first office, and 3 years on, I built the company by the time I was 25 to £500,000 turnover. 7 plumbers. We were doing well. I was making good profit. I think it was about 100,000 a year at the time, plus what I was taking out. So it was really good money, And I got to that point though, at the age of 25, like many business owners do and many entrepreneurs do, where they hit their ceiling. okay, where they don't know where to go next, where they've maximized their skill set. Because I was a plumber that started a plumbing business. I was not a businessman that started a plumbing business. You know, hairdressers, accountants, recruiters, whatever it may be. They usually start businesses because they were good at the job, not because they know anything about business. And I hit my ceiling very quickly. And I realized that actually I needed mentorship. Right. And social media isn't what it was back then, you know, and there wasn't so much personal development and training just rammed in your face every time you open up social. So it kind of wasn't something that I knew about or I was used to. I needed cash to invest in the growth of my organization, and I wanted exposure. And so one night on January the 9th, 2015, I came home and I was having a real shitty day. Okay, my company had leveled off. I didn't know where to take it next. And I got my phone out, okay, and went on to Facebook. It was at 9:15 p.m. I still remember it, really rainy, wintry night. And Lord Sugar's Facebook page came up. The final call for the Apprentice to apply 24 hours. And because I started my business 3 years earlier off the back of his book so passionately, and I always used to tweet him, telling him I was going to meet him and all of this type of stuff. And I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. You know, I live my life by that stuff. I knew at that moment the universe had sent me a sign. That was my opportunity. That was there for me that day. So I put in my details. I applied to get on the show. I got on the show, and then 6 months later, he bought half of my plumbing and heating business for $250,000. So 3 years earlier, I was a 22-year-old crazy guy that quit my job with a £15,000 loan after reading his book. 3 years later, he bought half of my business for $250,000, and I had a billionaire business partner.
Yes, that's awesome. And I love your passion and your energy and your excitement about it. So, because look, you're saying 3 years. What do you think? What do you feel like the perception of some people these days? If you said, "Hey, in 3 years, this is what you can do," are people going to take that chance? Are they going to snap that opportunity up, or what do you feel is today's mentality around that?
I mean, in some industries, it's too long. If you told people you're going to do it in 3 years, they'll be looking at it and going, "Hang on, 3 years? No, I want it now." You know what it's like with the Instagram lifestyle, with a lot of promises, with a lot of opportunity. But it is different now. You know, that was a plumbing and heating organization, very resource heavy, field based. You know, and it wasn't online. It wasn't as scalable as other businesses that you can scale a lot faster. So, you know, I think a lot of people now want it now. You know, I still want it now, even though I've learned 8 years, 9 years of patience. I still want the next level now. So I think, you know, some people will look at it and go, "Wow, big achievement." Other people may look at it and go, "You know what, that was great, but I could do it quicker." And, you know, one thing I've come to learn is there's always somebody out there that can do it bigger, better, faster, in a more awesome way, you know?
And do you, so what is it that puts people off? Do you think that's what puts people off? The fact that they're like, if they go out there and attempt something, that there is someone out there that could either do it better, faster, bigger, or obviously one of the major things is, well, if I attempt to do it and fail, then everyone's going to say, "I told you so."
One of the biggest fear that holds so much, one of the biggest things that holds so many people back is the fear of failure. You know, no one wants to fail. Failure, the first time it happens, especially on a large level, you know, can be absolutely brutal. But you learn from it, you overcome it, you adapt, you bounce back. You know, an entrepreneurship business, owning a business is all about failure. Okay, it's okay to fail small. No, we all try and avoid that mammoth failure that wipes us out the game. Okay, because there's loads of stuff you can rectify when you mess up or screw up and so on. But you don't want that big one that completely wipes it out. But, you know, it does happen. So it's a fear of failure. It's a fear of failure. But also, I do think that people believe that they're going to be living for a very long time. They feel like they're going to live forever, so they put it off until tomorrow. They wait until next week. They think they'll do it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time. But the reality is, you do not have as long as you think, okay? You must take action now. You can live a mediocre life your whole life, but the reality is you deserve better than that. You deserve more than that. You owe it to yourself to go out there, you know, and absolutely maximize and live your full potential. And, you know, I'm sure there's people thinking, no, I don't want to go and do that. My potential is in my family and spending weekends in the park and chilling out and watching movies and having a different vibe and time. And if they are here and thinking that, then maybe for me, them the wrong audience to speak to. Not everybody's going to be on the vibe that I'm chatting to, but based on what I believe, it's probably not. So I think you've got to go out there and just, you know, own it, embrace it, take it, it's yours. And don't be scared. Just don't be scared. What's the worst that can happen? You lose some money, you hit rock bottom again, you have to start and rebuild. And one thing that's always fired me up and made me feel invincible is no matter what happens, if I go back to the bottom, I'll be back in no time. You know, there is nothing that will keep me down. As long as I can move, breathe, walk, and talk, I am in the game.
Good. And yeah, I think fear is definitely a thing that keeps people from either. I don't think it's the first time, because like you say, someone will go out there, they're going to take some action, they're going to experience some kind of failure, which depending on how you perceive it, really, it's probably just like as Napoleon Hill said, he said it's like a temporary defeat.
Yeah.
You know, they're like a football team. They don't say, hey guys, we lost 1-0. Let's call it a day.
Yeah.
You know, they don't do that. They get ready, they get back on the pitch. But one of the main differences, and I discussed this on Saturday at Masters of Wealth, and it was like people in business and property investing, probably elsewhere as well, but let's just talk about these. They don't practice. They don't practice. You look at athletes, you know, sports stars, singers, movie stars, they practice. And because I got 3 kids, right? And I have this little thing that took me out when I was a kid, is if I experienced failure or some kind of pain, like I fell over or got hurt doing something, I would then want to stay away from it. And the longer I stayed away from it, the more kind of in my mind, the bigger the fear got. And I learned from my own experiences going into businesses, failing many times, and then winning and then failing and winning and failing and all of that, that the only thing that gets smaller when you move towards it is fear. Like everything else, if I, you know, we're on virtual right now, but if we're in the room and I move towards you, you get bigger. You know, if I move towards the oak tree down there in my garden, it gets bigger. If I move towards fear, it's the only thing that gets smaller.
Love it.
And it's like, if my kids hurt themselves, I want to get them back on whatever it is they're doing as soon as, like if they fall off the swing, let's get back on the swing right away. Because the longer distance between, you know, the pain or that failure and doing it again, you know, that fear just gets big. So before we move on to what happened with your business and that whole journey and see how this can inspire and help people, what I want to know is, what's some of the best advice? I don't want to ask what the major one thing is, but what's some of the best advice you have had from Lord Alan Sugar, as a mentor when it's come to either business or staying in the game or overcoming the fear? What's some of the best advice you've had?
Focus on one thing first. Don't get distracted by too many things. You know, there's always lots of opportunity. There's always lots of pretty shiny things in the space, but you've got to concentrate. If you want to build and if you want to scale, you know, you've really got to go all in on what's scalable, you know. And straight after winning the Apprentice at 25 years of age, you know, I had every opportunity under the sun. There was 9 million people a week that watched that show. I'm 31 now, you know, and there was 9 million people a week that watched that show, and it was absolutely insane, you know. And to be honest with you, Mark, after I won, did I want to then go back to running a plumbing company? You know, after I tasted what seemed to be the good life, the incredible, flashy celebrity lifestyle at that time? No, is the honest answer. But what I will say is this: I never went on the show for fame. I went for knowledge and longevity in business. I went to build a business, because business or business skills and knowledge will last. 15 minutes of fame doesn't. And you don't want to keep regurgitating and recycling in that world. So I went in to learn business. So stay focused if you want to scale. Don't spread out too thinly too quickly. Second of all, and it might seem like an obvious one, but I've trained about 3,000 businesses last year for free, and got hundreds of paid clients in the construction space. And one thing that many people miss is understanding their margins, pricing their products incorrectly, okay, not making enough money to be able to support their cost base, to be able to support their bottom line profits, and to be able to continue to reinvest and scale. So always understand your margins. How much money am I making?
That's, that is quite an amusing subject. Most people who want to come into property, they spend all the time, because this is a funny thing. One of the things that they learn about property, and then one of the things that people get the most mind frick about is the numbers.
Yeah.
Discussing here. So what they're doing is they're procrastinating and analyzing, and they're looking to get every single piece of number in order, just so they can go into the deal. And that's what's funny is people then get the taste for it, go into the deal, realize it was that thing. All right, when I move closer to the fear, it gets smaller. So there is no fear. It's just, really a walk in the park. So then people start to do this. And now, after all of that time they wasted not making a move because of the numbers, now they've got some property. They don't pay attention to the numbers.
Yeah.
And it's because, like you said, you're now training businesses to help them grow, help them scale, because in the construction industry, because that number aspect is just something, like you say, you were a plumber and you're a business. It's not like you understood business and then say, oh, let me go into the plumbing space.
Yeah, exactly right.
And the financial aspect, the numbers, the bookkeeping, the accounting. I know when I was first going into business, one of the most valuable, and I didn't get it at the time either, but one of the most valuable pieces of advice was, hey, your most important team member and the first person you need on your team is a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
At the time I was like, yeah, okay, mate, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll come back to that later. That's boring stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what's happening there. So what happened with your journey, or like usually
business in 2016,
most, right? What people are training or helping others is what they need the most. So what I want to know is what happened to you. You exploded after the winning the Apprentice, and now you're going all this wonderful mentoring, building your business. Then what happened?
So I went, we won, and he put the money in and everything else. And then I went to work, and I would go and see him once a month and his team and so on. And we started to build the business. Within 2 years or a year and a half, I think we doubled it to $1 million turnover. And that was about 2017. At that point, I was 27 years of age. But I learned very, very quickly that these guys didn't know the construction industry. They couldn't help me run a field-based operation, and they were used to manufacturing or large commercial buying and selling property management. So they didn't know the space. They didn't know the game. So after I had the money and the exposure had driven all of the connections in the industry that I needed, and I'd got the limited mentorship that they could give me, I became very frustrated with the partnership. I would go down to the board meetings and they would be looking at me for all of the answers as to what we were going to do next. And, I never claimed to have all of the answers. I went to learn, not to go and tell them what we were going to do. And I wanted to keep scaling the business, and they wanted me to, just plod along and do what I wanted to do. But I wanted to, absolutely become a national company. That was all I wanted from the journey. I wasn't interested in playing small. I think I've made that clear this evening. So I said to him, listen, I want to scale this up. You keep telling me along. If you don't want to go to the top with me in this industry, you're worried about it failing or whatever it may be, then let me take the risk. Let me buy you out, and I'll go it alone. So I looked at him, and he looked back at me, and he said, "Look, no one's ever spoke to me like that before. I'm going to come back to you in 48 hours." And in 48 hours, we negotiated a deal, and I was out. I was the first Apprentice winner ever to exit and buy out Lord Sugar. You know, there's been a couple after me, but I was the first one. You know, and that was one of the biggest, ballsiest moves I've ever done, to get out that quickly. You know, at the age of 27, with, you know, I had about 40 staff or 30 staff at the time. I can't quite remember now. But, you know, I had to go back and tell them, and then it got hit the papers that we parted, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I took a lot on my shoulders, and it was me that provoked it. They didn't come to me with it, but I wanted to go to the top. So 2017, we were a mil turnover. By the time I got to 2019, end of 2019, I'd taken it to the largest independent boiler installation company in the UK. We had 100 staff, and we operated in every major city. We had an 8-figure turnover, and we were a big, big beast of a business. And, you know, I nearly killed myself getting it to that level in such a short period of time. We went from a mil in 2017 to, you know, 10 mil in 2019. And, you know the construction industry. It's not easy. This isn't talking about scaling e-commerce online. You know, this isn't scaling courses. This is people, product, merchant, supplies, survey, delivery, operations. You know, it was a crazy, crazy journey. And the end of 2019, we won National Installer of the Year. September 2019, beating people like British Gas and so on to the title. And in all honesty, you know, and this is why people get in for business for different reasons. And you asked me earlier, what were you in it for? When I first started that business back at 2012, I used to sit there at night visioning it, seeing my company and my vans going up and down the motorways. I used to see us as a national company rivaling British Gas. It's all I cared about. I wasn't bothered about the money. I wanted to build a national business. That's why I wanted to do it, national. And I remember winning and going on stage. And as I came down and walked off stage after getting the award, I felt the motivation drain from my body. I'd achieved what I've set out to achieve. I couldn't go any bigger in that space. I couldn't do any more. And then fast forward to December 2019, because we'd scaled rapidly, you know, we'd reinvested all of our funds. We hadn't got additional investment. We'd gone to a national business off that early $250,000. We got to a level, we hit some really hard times in the market. We were a direct sales business, so we had sales teams that would go and sit in customers' homes and sell boilers and so on and so forth. And we got to like a 50K a day break even of new sales every day. It was a big old beast to run. And at the back end of November and early December, you know, Brexit and warmer weather just wiped the market. We were forecasting way more at that point than we did. Really hit us, hit our cash flow hard. And I had a choice to make. It was either fold the company out because we weren't going to be able to survive it, or split it down, shut bits down, sell parts of it off. And that's exactly what I did. I sold it off, brand, assets and more, liquidated part of the business. The staff that we had under my deal, I managed to get them to keep their jobs. I managed all customer warranties to be honoured by the new person. And then any company, because there were companies that did lose money in the restructuring of the deal, they were able to go on and retrade with the new business. And that's exactly what my commitment was. And that was as much as I could do. And I did it. It was very unfortunate that 3 months later, the pandemic hit, and the new company that bought the business, they got wiped out by the pandemic anyway. The investment company that took it on, and then it got shut down again. So that's kind of where it went. You know, it was an insane journey, a race to the top. I got to the top. It was, you know, a great feeling for a short period of time, but it was also hell on earth running that business. I hated it. I really hated it. You know, it was a prison. And then, you know, we had to exit and restructure and sell on. So that took me to the end of 2019.
So that takes a lot of courage to be able to sit here and just, we're live as well, and say all of that. So I commend you for that, because not a lot of people would do that. And that's like why we like to do it live, because we just like to give people the real thing. So that's awesome. And just before we go into like, what's your biggest learnings and the best advice you can give people who may be looking to do similar things, but I'll ask you that question in a moment. I just want to remind the people who are on here right now, so competition, make sure you share this stream on your timeline and you tag 10 people. If you're in the Real Life Tribe, tag 10 people in and 10 people out of the Real Life Tribe. And if you're here at the end and you qualify, then we will be selecting a winner. So make sure you are still here at the end, but tag people, 10 people in, 10 people out. If you don't even know what the Real Life Tribe is, just tag 10 people, but share it on your timeline as well. So Joseph, the biggest, so you grow it, and it's obviously a lot of, there's a journey, there's a physical journey, there's a financial journey, there's obviously also an emotional and mental journey that you have gone through. What is, like, if you was to do it all again, and obviously this is what you're doing now, you're advising people who are going through that journey in construction, wanting to scale their business, what are the key things that you would say or advice you would give so they don't get to a position like you say, you know, and it was a prison, you know, you were forecasting more than you were delivering, a slight change in situation in the industry, in the weather, you even said as well. Like, rather than be subject to these, what advice would you give to people?
Before I answer that, I'm going to just fast forward again to where I've got to now, because I think that gives more credibility to what I'm about to say. At the beginning of 2020, I had to start again, right? I was 30 years of age. Since 22, my career had evolved and evolved, and I continued to climb to, you know, insane heights. And I believed that I was untouchable. I believe that everything I touched turned to gold. I went into Forbes in Europe when I was 28, Forbes 30 under 30 out of 18,000 candidates in Europe. I was picked as one of the 30 entrepreneurs. I wrote a #1 best-selling autobiography in that time. I had a #1 podcast in the world. You know, we achieved some insane things. You know, first Apprentice to buy out Lord Sugar. So, you know, as much as the journey was difficult, it was also extremely rewarding. But sometimes so much success can make you think that it's always going to be that way. And, you know, I came crashing back down to earth at the beginning of 2020. You know, and I didn't quite know how I'd found myself in that position. I expected to sell that company that I'd grown with my heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears for many, 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 many millions. The reality is, okay, coming back down to earth and being in the public eye and being scared and worried about what people were going to say and what they were going to think and how much my reputation was going to get hurt and everything else that comes along with it was an incredibly brutal, difficult, hard situation to bounce back from. You know, and many people are going to be experiencing something similar to what I went through. Their businesses are going to be taken away from them. You know, their industries are wiped out, and they're going to have been in it for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, not knowing what to do next. So in the last 10 months during the pandemic, since February 2019, when I picked myself back up again, where I battled my demons and beat that depression, and I fought back against, you know, realizing back when I was 15 that no one was coming to save me, that the cavalry wasn't coming, that I wasn't going to let any external opinions of me being a failure, actually become real. So I've gone on to build a new business in the last 10 months. We've scaled up to 7 figures. We're doing about 150,000 a month in revenue now. I've got 16 new staff. We've moved to new offices. You know, we've trained hundreds of businesses with huge success. And, you know, it took a lot for me to come on that journey and to get to here now. The reason I can talk openly about this is because I've got back to a very, very big level very quickly. You know, 7 figures isn't huge. We used to do $1 million a month. Now we're doing 150,000 a month, but it's very profitable, much more profitable than the construction industry in terms of actually delivering on the jobs. So I feel so much more stronger and open and honest to be able to speak about it, because, you know, I used to battle and think, am I actually a failure? Am I going to be able to bounce back? And I have done. So the lessons that I've learned are this, okay? What goes up may and sometimes must come down. Okay, so when it does, you've got to be protecting your downside. You've got to have multiple investments. You've got to look after yourself. You've got to make sure that your personal assets, liabilities, and all that comes with it are protected. Okay, limited companies are a limited business for a reason. Okay, make sure you've got all of your legals and protections in place, because business is a risk. Right, business is a risk for everybody involved, especially when you're going on rapid scale. Secondly, I will say this, okay, failure isn't final and success isn't guaranteed. Okay, just because you've been a success once or twice or 3, 4, 5 times doesn't mean the next one is going to pan out exactly how the others have. Okay, and just because you failed, and if you fail on an astronomical level, okay, you have small failures that I said about earlier that can, hit you in the ribs, or jab you a little bit, you lose a bit of money, and or you have a bad day or a bad week or something happens, they don't take you down. You can have little failures, or you can have astronomical ones that will wipe you out the game. But the reality is those failures are not final. They only become final if you let them. And failure, ultimate failure, because I don't like using the word failure, because failure isn't final. Failure is only final if you quit.
For sure. We've got a question here. Look at this question. So it's asking, do you think that the fast growth of the business caused you to hate it? Was there enough systems and processes in place to protect you as a CEO?
Yeah, Adam, I think, growing up in 2019, you went from 3 to 10 million in 1 year. And we were expanding into a new city like every 2 weeks. It was absolutely insanity. And actually I was the one that grew it to that level that quickly. And I think it did cause me to hate the business. I got to such an 18-hour day, 7-day a week position. And don't get me wrong, I work insanely hard, and I still do now, but I love what I do. And I used to love that business up until the point where I made it become, that prison that I was talking about. And the reality is we are the ones that create it. I was obsessed with wanting to build a national business. Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. And in terms of systems, processes, we were pretty good at all of that stuff, to be honest. The business worked on a national level. The thing that hurt us was that the market dropped out. Okay, we were planning on getting a certain amount of inquiries or sales based on opportunity, and those leads did not land. Okay, meaning we couldn't make the sales, meaning that we had no recurring revenue. Yeah, we were generate the leads, send in our sales team to go and quote in the home, send our installers to go and fit the boiler. And it was a constant machine. There was no ongoing revenue backing up the other products. It was like just 3 main products, really. So when the sales dropped, we were up shit creek without a paddle. And the other lessons I've learned from this are, don't, as much as you go all in on one thing to scale, make sure you've got more than 1 to 3 products. Try and have 5, 6, 7. So you've got everybody says multiple streams of income. That doesn't need to be external from the business that you do. You can have multiple streams of income in the same business, but without them being all different businesses. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. And also, go into industries that have got good margins. I mean, you go into industries with shit margins or low margins, you're doing all the hard work and you're not getting a lot of the reward, right? The margins that I've got at the moment are 4 times what they were, right? I'm having to do a lot less work with a lot less stress, and I'm making a hell of a lot more money. Okay, so nobody told me that back then, because I was in that area, in that organization, in that area, in that industry. It's all I knew. It's all I knew. And now I know business. I don't know plumbing, if that makes sense. We said earlier, I was a plumber starting a plumbing business. Now I'm a businessman that knows how to understand marketing strategies, sales strategies, financial operations, supply chains, margins, KPIs, management info, organizational structures, recruitment, HR, whatever it may be, finance and more. And you can work it to a level. So, I've now got those skills, transferred them, and rebuilt a new company.
That's so important what you're saying, and you're giving so much insight. And I think most people agree on here for sure, and they're commenting, say that great golden nuggets and great insight. But this is exactly what we were. I don't know where Joseph has gone. Hopefully he logs back on. But this is exactly what was happening and what we were teaching at Masters of Wealth, which was with Robert Kiyosaki and Mac Attram and Richard Tan on Saturday, which is building a strategy and a business with. Yeah, you're back. Let me bring you back on the screen. That's all good. Yeah, so
camera timed out. I don't know what happened there.
I was just saying, like, we were discussing this at Master of Wealth on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
There was Robert Kiyosaki, there was Mac Attram, there was Richard Tan, and these guys, and I was talking about the property industry to say, look, you got to build or have a strategy that gives you lump sums of cash, for like what you're saying, Joseph, here, like sales. Yeah. Also have a monthly recurring revenue. I always ask the question like, oh, who wants the cash? Who wants the monthly revenue? But really it's like both is best,
Both is
best for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. And in fact, this Wednesday, I'm going to be teaching the same thing at 8 o'clock on Wednesday evening for free. And just taking people through the strategy of like, how do you get lump sums of cash like now, but also create this recurring monthly revenue, but also investing in assets, which is property, long-term game as well. Alan Sugar said, because we had Mark Wright on it not so long ago, and he said that Alan Sugar said, do business for fun and property to make money. Yeah, so that's
what I think. Lord Sugar built a big, $1 billion business. But I also know, that he made his billionaire wealth from his property investments. Insane numbers.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just seeing what this comment here is too big to bring on the screen. But but it says your drive in your last business was so focused on being nationally, which caused you to hate your company, and fell in prison. This is the same drive you have for your new business, so she's asking, is it the same drive you have for your new business, or is it just to enjoy and run a successful business and outsource so you can have the time to enjoy your life? Good question.
Okay, great question. And my ambition for this business is to go international. I want to operate on every major continent, on every continent across the world. And you may think, Joe, but you said a moment ago that your last business got so big that that's what caused you to hate it. Why are you going to go now international? The reality is this, okay? Some businesses, remember this, some businesses are supposed to be scaled to a level, and some, when they get to a level, just don't work. Okay, and we got so big in a very competitive industry against the likes of British Gas, okay, and 90% sole traders, that we were in that no man's land zone where we didn't have British Gas's money, and we had overheads versus the small companies. Construction, plumbing and heating is 90% sole trader to 1 to 3 man bands, and there's only like HomeServe, British Gas and a couple of others at the level we were at. We didn't have the money to fight at that level, and we've got way bigger than the small businesses. So in hindsight, the business should have never got to that level. It didn't have enough opportunity, enough reward, without lots of additional funding in the business to allow it to compete potentially. I believe that was the case. So, national plumbing and heating business versus an international online training business where you make the product once, is 100% margin, it's only ad spend, sales and delivery that scale it. It's a completely different business to run. So this one is internationally scalable. And we're going to launch America in February. We're launching into Canada next. after that, that'll be in Q2. And then we're going to Australia. I mean, these guys have got huge construction industries, and obviously they're English speaking. So our courses will work for them, and so on and so forth. So, you know, for me, it is just about knowing the business to scale, but it should never scare you from scaling again. Like, I'm not scared to go again. You know, I just want to get back to the 10 million first and foremost. Then I want to go bigger. Then I want to go 100 million. Then I want to get to billionaire status. And, you know, once again, going back to Mark's point earlier, is it about getting billionaire wealth? Okay, do I want £1 billion? Not really. But what I do want is the ability to say that I achieved that phenomenal status, and then use the money and the wealth for good, to help people, to change people's lives, to be able to make a difference. One of the best things I get is giving back. Okay, I love giving back. That's more important than the money. You know, many people will say that, you know, once you get the cars, you know, once you get the houses, once you get the nice watches, the clothes and everything else, I love all that stuff, don't get me wrong. But actually, I get so much more enjoyment about giving back to somebody, either getting the results, giving them a present, and seeing the impact that you have on their lives. And if you had $1 billion, imagine the impact that you could do with that same level of intention.
Exactly. And I totally understand where you're coming from. In every company that we have under the Real Life brand and that I'm involved in, we always make sure that everybody understands the mission. Yeah. And all their numbers for like goals and outcomes. Yeah, absolutely. But the ethos and the culture that we have in our organization is, we say, right, okay, so if this is the figure, okay, so 100 million is the goal, 1 billion is the goal. Imagine how much value we have to add to people for them to part with that money. And like, this is the way we train ourselves. And this is where I want to train all the leadership and all the people in our businesses to be like, yeah, okay, so money is one thing, but how much value do we have to provide? Because we say a minimum of 10. Like, meaning, like, if someone's going to give us, you know, 100,000, you know, minimum we have to give them £1 million worth of value. Minimum. More like 100 times is what we do, but like a minimum has to be 10. So like you say, giving back, contributing, and we actually have a foundation that is providing education for children. And we're actually doing this quarter, we're doing a property deal for free. Meaning 100% of the profit is going to go to the foundation. So people who want to help out, by the way, you know, want to help out, either invest money, so get 0% return, but you get your money back, or just donate the money because you want to donate it. I mean, we're paying the professionals, you know, by construction and stuff, but anybody who wants to give any of their services, be part of the furnishing, be part of getting it all rented and up and running, we invite you to, you know, inquire and see how you can be involved, because we want it to be a learning opportunity as well. But like you said, providing education, and really the foundation is going to go on to build schools.
Awesome. Incredible.
That's exactly what we want to do. And just before we wrap this up, because this has been amazing, I think, you know, condensed into this short space of time, it's been quick, it's been, you know, quick fire. So you might have to go back and watch it if you didn't see it all. Even if you did see it, you're probably going to get some massive value by watching it again. But I have a question that I always ask, and based on how you've been and firing with your passion today, I'm excited to hear your answer to it. But just before we do that, please do make sure that you are commenting, tagging people, 10 people in the tribe, 10 people out of the tribe, or and sharing on your timeline, and I'll be waiting for my message for the winner to be picked. So you got to be here, you got to make sure that you're qualified, and then if I get the message, I can call it out before the end of the show. If not, we'll be contacting you after. But also, just in the grand scheme of things, making sure that you build your business and that you do protect yourself and you build for cash now, but also wealth long term. You can join us. You can join me on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So there's a link in the comments already. I think it has been put in there and probably will be put in there again. where you can register. It's a free training. So actually, we're actually building an online product. And while recording this, we like to do it in front of people because there's more energy rather than just talking to a lens. So you can come along and watch us record it for free. That's the deal. You know, the trade-off is you make it more fun for us, and you get it for free, so we can build an awesome online product that's got energy and passion behind it because it was delivered to live people. So we have Joseph, we have an ethos within our culture. Yeah. And we always say that we can never, ever, ever forget to tell the people that they must do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
Say that again.
So we always say they can't forget they've got to do the right thing for the right reason.
Yeah, I think, you know, so sorry, buddy. What's the question?
So you got to do the right
thing for the right reason. But what's the question off the back of it?
Yeah. So why is that? Yeah. Why is that?
I think because everything that you should approach in life and business should be first and foremost ethical, and it should come from a good place. I don't think you enter into any relationship, partnership, business, opportunity, whatever it may be, hoping that there's going to be a negative outcome. So you've always got to do the right things for the right reason, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I love hearing people's response. If you've seen any of our videos, and I want you to say this with us, because I don't know if anyone's put it in the comments yet, but we always say that as part of our culture, you got to do the right thing for the right reason, because it's the only way that you're going to discover your true potential.
Nice.
Can you say that for us?
Me? you got to tell me again. Sorry, I'm on the go since like 5 a.m. So I'm getting a little bit knackered now. I'm slowing down a little bit. Do the right thing for the right reason. That's the only way to be. You will discover your true potential. If you want to capture that as a little thing, if you hold it up again, I'll try and do a second one for you better.
That was all good. That was amazing. Thank you so much. You've been amazing. Thank you for being on here. Our real life tribe, you know, you got your mastermind in our private area starting in 3 minutes. Let me just tell the winner. So Lubo, are you on here? Please comment if you're on here. That will confirm your winning of the real life merchandise. So you'll be contacted so you can choose what it is that you want. So Lubo, just comment if you're still watching it on here and see if you we are to claim your prize for being on it. But Joseph, awesome. Lots of passion, lots of gems tonight. Can't wait to get this. Yes, he's here. Good job. So the team will be contacting you, Lubo, to make sure that you can pick. And send us a picture, by the way. Once you do it, post online with whatever it is that you choose. Let us know that you got it okay. So Joseph, thank you so much for being on here.
I believe guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you very much, team. Thank you very much for everyone being on here. Really value and appreciate all your love, all your support and sharing and tagging and interaction and your questions. So until next time, thank you so much, and we will see you again.
Cheers, guys.